There comes a moment in every life when you realize that carrying the past is costing you more than letting it go. Not because what happened didn't matter, not because it didn't hurt, but because you can't move forward while gripping something that's already over. Right now, you may be standing at that moment, caught between who you've been and who you're meant to become. And the tension you feel inside isn't weakness, it's a signal that change is calling. You don't need another year of repeating the same patterns. You don't need another explanation for why things turned out the way they did. What you need is a decision to stop letting yesterday dictate today, a decision to stop reliving what can no longer be changed and start creating what still can be. This is about reclaiming your power, about understanding that your future is not behind you, that the pain you've been carrying was never meant to define you. It was meant to shape you, strengthen you, and then be released. Because the truth is, the life you want cannot be built by someone who refuses to let go of what's holding them back. Right now, this is your moment, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Right now. Because the moment you choose to move forward, everything changes. Right now, the only reason your past still has power over you is because you keep feeding it energy in the present. Think about that for a moment. The event is over. The words were spoken. The failure happened. The loss already occurred. None of that exists anymore except as a memory in your nervous system. And yet, every time you replay it, every time you attach emotion to it, you breathe life into something that should be finished. The past cannot hurt you. Only your relationship with it can. The moment you realize this, you take back control. Most people don't suffer because of what happened. They suffer because they refuse to let it go. They revisit the same moment again and again, hoping somehow it will change, hoping that if they analyze it enough, the pain will disappear. But analysis without action becomes a prison. You don't heal by reliving the wound. You heal by changing what the wound means. Pain is not permanent, meaning is. And meaning is something you choose. Your brain doesn't know the difference between something happening now and something you vividly remember. When you replay the past with emotion, your body reacts as if it's happening all over again. Your heart tightens, your breath shortens, your muscles tense. You are literally training your nervous system to stay stuck. And then you wonder why moving forward feels so hard. It's because you're dragging yesterday into today. What if you stopped giving it that power? What if you decided right now that the past is a reference point, not a residence? It can teach you, but it cannot live inside you unless you invite it. You don't need to forget what happened. You need to stop letting it define who you are. There is a massive difference between learning from the past and living in it. One gives you wisdom. The other steals your future. Ask yourself this: what are you gaining by holding on? Sometimes people cling to pain because it gives them certainty. It gives them an identity. It gives them a story to tell about why their life is the way it is. But that story comes at a cost. It costs you your energy. It costs you your joy. It costs you your potential. And the price is too high. The truth is, you are stronger than the worst thing that ever happened to you. But you'll never feel that strength as long as you keep handing your power over to a memory. The past has no voice. It has no hands. It has no future. The only power it has is the power you give it through focus and emotion. The moment you decide that your life is about where you're going, not where you've been, everything changes. You stand taller. You breathe deeper. You reclaim authority over your own mind. This is not about denying pain. This is about refusing to let pain run your life. The past is done. But you are not. And the moment you stop feeding what was, you finally free what can be. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid pain, not realizing that this avoidance is the very thing that keeps them trapped. They think pain is the enemy, something to be feared, something to escape from at all costs. But pain is not what breaks you. What breaks you is staying exactly the same while knowing deep down that you were meant for more. That inner conflict, that quiet frustration, that sense of regret building year after year, that is far more damaging than any temporary discomfort you're trying to avoid. Pain is a signal. It shows you where you need to grow. It shows you where your standards are too low, where your boundaries are too weak, where your identity no longer fits the life you're living. When you resist pain, you resist growth. When you numb it, distract from it, or pretend it isn't there, you also numb the part of you that wants to rise. Comfort may feel safe, but it quietly erodes your confidence. Over time, it teaches you that staying small is acceptable, and that belief is far more dangerous than fear. Think about it. Every breakthrough you've ever had came with discomfort. Every time you learned something meaningful, it stretched you. Every time you changed, it was inconvenient, uncertain, and uncomfortable. Growth demands friction. Without it, nothing sharpens, nothing strengthens, nothing evolves. Muscles grow by tearing. Character grows the same way. Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. The real enemy is stagnation. It's waking up one day and realizing years have passed, yet nothing inside you has changed. It's knowing you settled, compromised, and made excuses instead of decisions. That kind of pain doesn't scream, it whispers. It shows up as boredom, resentment, procrastination, and self-doubt. And because it's quiet, people ignore it until it becomes unbearable. Here's the shift that changes everything instead of asking. How do I avoid pain? Ask, what pain am I willing to endure to become who I'm meant to be? There are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. One strengthens you. The other weakens you. One is temporary, the other lasts a lifetime. You don't get to avoid pain, you get to choose which one you'll carry. When you lean into discomfort, you reclaim your power. You stop running. You stop hiding. You face the fear, the uncertainty, the resistance, and you realize something incredible. It doesn't destroy you. It refines you. Every time you act despite fear, your confidence grows. Every time you move forward despite discomfort, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who survives and start seeing yourself as someone who leads. Pain becomes fuel when you stop resisting it. It becomes a teacher when you listen instead of fight. And once you understand this, everything changes. You no longer fear discomfort, you use it. Because you know the real danger was never pain itself. The real danger was staying the same and calling it safety, while your true potential slowly slipped away. At some point, you have to realize that your life is not shaped by what happened to you, but by the story you keep telling yourself about what happened. Two people can experience the same event and walk away with completely different futures, not because the event was different, but because the meaning they gave it was different. That meaning becomes a lens. And once a lens is in place, everything you see passes through it. If you believe your past means you are broken, unworthy, or limited, your decisions will follow that belief. Not consciously, but automatically. You are not your story. You are the one who tells it. And that means you have the power to change it. The problem is most people mistake familiarity for truth. They repeat the same explanation so many times that it feels real. This is just how I am. This always happens to me. People can't be trusted. These are not facts. They are interpretations. And interpretations can be upgraded the moment you decide they no longer serve you. Your brain is a meaning-making machine. It is constantly trying to protect you by predicting the future based on the past. But protection can become limitation when old conclusions run your life. What once helped you survive may now be the very thing holding you back. The story that kept you safe then might be keeping you small now. Growth begins when you question the narrative instead of obeying it. Ask yourself what you've been labeling as permanent that was really just a chapter. What if that failure wasn't proof that you're incapable, but proof that you tried? What if that rejection wasn't a verdict on your worth, but redirection towards something better? The moment you shift the meaning, the emotional charge changes. And when the emotion changes, your behavior changes. That's how lives transform, not by changing events, but by changing interpretation. You don't have to deny what happened. You don't have to pretend it didn't hurt. But you do have to decide what role it will play going forward. Will it be a prison or will it be training? Will it be a wound you protect or a scar that proves you survived? Every experience contains multiple meanings, and you get to choose which one becomes your identity. The most dangerous stories are the ones you never question. They operate in the background, shaping your standards, your relationships, and your confidence without your awareness. When you bring them into the light, they lose their grip. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates freedom. The moment you stop saying, this is who I am because of my past, and start saying, this is who I choose to become because I learned from my past, everything shifts, your voice gets stronger, your posture changes, your future opens up. Because when you reclaim authorship of your story, you stop living on repeat, you stop being a character trapped in an old script. You become the writer. And from that place, the next chapter doesn't have to look anything like the last. Most people believe they'll let go when they finally feel ready, when the pain fades, when the anger disappears, or when closure magically arrives. But that moment rarely comes on its own. Waiting to feel free before deciding to let go keeps you stuck in the same emotional loop. Letting go is not something that happens to you. It is something you do. It is a decision made in the presence of discomfort, not the absence of it. Feelings are unreliable leaders. They change with sleep, stress, memories, and environment. If you wait for your emotions to give you permission, you may wait a lifetime. Freedom begins when you choose to release what no longer serves you. Even while the emotions are still loud, the decision comes first. The feelings follow. That's how real change works. Think about how many times you've said, "I can't let go yet." What you're really saying is, "I'm still attached to what this pain gives me." Sometimes pain provides a sense of justice. Sometimes it keeps you connected to someone who's gone. Sometimes it protects you from being hurt again. But every benefit has a cost, and the cost is your peace. The cost is your growth. The cost is your future. Letting go does not mean what happened was okay. It does not mean you approve of it, forget it, or excuse it. It means you refuse to let it control you anymore. It means you stop carrying emotional weight that you were never meant to carry forever. You don't drop it because it's easy. You drop it because holding it is slowly destroying you. Decisions shape destiny. The moment you decide something is over, your brain starts rewiring around that choice. New options appear. New behaviors become possible. Energy that was trapped in resentment, guilt, or regret becomes available for creativity, strength, and forward motion. This is why the decision is so powerful. It creates momentum even when emotion resists. There will be moments after you decide to let go when the old feelings come back. That does not mean the decision failed. It means your nervous system is catching up. Habits of thought don't disappear instantly. But every time you reaffirm the decision, you weaken the old pattern. You remind yourself who is in control. Over time, what once felt heavy begins to feel distant, not because you forgot, but because it no longer owns you. Letting go is an act of leadership. It is you choosing your future over your past. It is you saying, "I deserve peace more than I deserve to be right. I deserve freedom more than I deserve to hold on to this pain." That choice requires courage, but so does staying the same, and one of those choices leads to life. The truth is, you don't need to feel ready to let go. You need to decide that you're done paying the price. The moment you choose, you step out of survival mode and into creation. And from that moment on, every breath, every step, every action moves you forward, not because it feels easy, but because you finally chose yourself. Whether you realize it or not, you are always acting in alignment with who you believe you are. Your behaviors, your habits, your boundaries, even the way you speak to yourself are all reflections of identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will unconsciously create struggle. If you see yourself as someone who settles, you will tolerate less than you deserve. This is why change feels so hard for so many people, not because they lack willpower, but because they're trying to act in ways that conflict with who they think they are. Your identity is the invisible force shaping your destiny. It determines what feels possible, what feels uncomfortable, and what feels off limits. And most people are living from an identity they never consciously chose. It was built from past experiences, labels, and emotional wounds. It formed quietly, but it runs loudly. Until you change that identity, no amount of motivation will last. Think about the standards you tolerate. They reveal who you believe you are. What you accept in relationships, what you allow in your work, what you excuse in your own behavior, these are not random. They are expressions of identity. Raise the identity, and the standards rise automatically. Lower identity, and even success feels uncomfortable. The moment you shift how you see yourself, your entire life reorganizes around that new self-image. You don't have to force discipline when your identity aligns with growth. You don't have to fight procrastination when your identity values excellence. Actions become natural when they match who you believe you are. That's why lasting change happens from the inside out, not the other way around. This is also why people sabotage themselves. Success conflicts with their identity, so they unconsciously push it away. Happiness feels unfamiliar, so they return to what's known. It's not because they don't want better, it's because better doesn't match who they believe they are yet. But identity is not fixed, it's trained. And it's trained through decisions, repetition, and emotional intensity. Every time you make a choice that aligns with the person you want to become, you cast a vote for that identity. One decision doesn't change your life, but a pattern of aligned decisions rewires how you see yourself. Over time, confidence stops being something you chase and becomes something you expect. Strength stops being something you summon and becomes something you embody. You don't find your identity, you build it. You decide what you stand for, what you will no longer tolerate, and who you are committed to becoming. When you raise your identity, your behavior follows. When your behavior changes, your results change. And when your results change, your destiny shifts. The future you want is not waiting for more information or more motivation. It's waiting for you to decide who you are. Not who you've been, not who others labeled you, but who you choose to be starting now. The moment that decision becomes non-negotiable, your life begins to reflect it. The future you want will not be created by the person you are today if that person keeps the same standards, the same habits, and the same expectations. A bigger future demands a stronger version of you. Not a perfect version, not a fearless version, but a committed one. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you were meant to be. And that requires a willingness to evolve beyond what feels comfortable. Every new level of life asks a new question of you. Can you show up when it's hard? Can you keep your word to yourself when no one is watching? Can you raise your standards even when it costs you familiarity, approval, or comfort? The future doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to identity, discipline, and consistent action. If you want more, you must become more. Most people try to negotiate with their future. They want better results without better habits. They want confidence without discomfort. They want change without sacrifice. But growth has a price, and that price is paid in advance. The stronger version of you is built through daily choices that often feel small, inconvenient, and unnoticed. But those choices compound, and over time, they shape a life that feels completely different. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not filled with hope, it's filled with action. And action requires courage. Courage to let go of old patterns. Courage to disappoint people who benefited from the old version of you. Courage to walk away from what's familiar even when it feels safe. The future doesn't care about your past excuses. It responds to what you do next. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your standards. When your standards rise, your behavior must follow. When your behavior changes, your identity strengthens. And when your identity strengthens, the future you once dreamed about becomes inevitable. This is not about forcing yourself to do more. It's about refusing to live below what you know you're capable of. There will be days when the stronger version of you feels far away. Days when doubt creeps in and old habits call your name. That's not failure. That's the process. The question is not whether you'll feel resistance. The question is whether you'll let resistance decide for you. Every time you choose progress over comfort, you reinforce the identity of the person your future requires. The future is not waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to commit, to raise your standards, to demand more from yourself, not from a place of pressure, but from a place of respect, because deep down, you know you were made for more than survival. The moment you stop asking if you're capable and start acting like you are, everything shifts. The future begins to open because you finally did. And when you commit to becoming the stronger version of yourself, you don't just move forward, you become unstoppable. At the end of it all, this comes down to one simple truth. You cannot step into a new life while clinging to an old version of yourself. What you release today creates the space for what you're meant to become tomorrow. The past may have shaped you, but it does not get to command you. That power belongs to you. Moving forward is not about erasing your history. It's about rising above it. It's about choosing growth over comfort, purpose over pain, and possibility over fear. Every time you choose to act from strength instead of habit, you reclaim a piece of your future. Remember this, freedom is not found in waiting, wishing, or hoping. It's found in deciding. Deciding to let go. Deciding to raise your standards. Deciding to become the person your future requires. And when that decision becomes non-negotiable, your life will never be the same. This is where the past ends. This is where power begins.